When we want to heal, to transform ourselves and to grow, what are we focused on? We are focused on only on our conscious mind. It means we are using only 5 or 10% of our mind power. So I thought to myself, why not using the 90% also in our mind power, right, that we don't have access to? So why don't we bring the subconscious mind to the party?
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Stories from Real Life. I'm your host, Melvin E. Edwards. Thanks for joining me for the podcast where personal stories can have a global impact. As you heard in the intro, our guest today is Dr. Alain Salas. Dr. Salas, welcome to the show.
Yeah, like we say in my native language, bonjour, Melvin. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, doctor?
Very good. Thank you, sir.
So my show is now heard in 74 different countries, including your home country of France. In the
Okay.
United States, when people use profanity, they say, pardon my French. Do
Yeah.
French people say, pardon my English?
No, we don't, actually. It's funny because profanity, when you learn a foreign language, that's when you socialize. That's one of the first things that you learn, ironically.
So you used to live on a sailing boat and rent boats in the south of France. Do you miss doing that?
Yes, I know. I miss the traveling, that I was doing. The living on a boat, I lived on my boat almost 10 years, right? And so after the boat becomes a little bit too small, right?
What inspired you to sell your boat and move to the United States?
I mean, deeply, if I look, if my, I'm really into mind, mind clearing. And if I do a little bit of psychology, my dad was very negative and also very controlling. So I think, and my mom wanted always to have a boat and my dad always said no. And so I think it's one of the reasons, probably the main reason psychologically why I wanted a boat, because boat is the symbol of freedom, right? I mean, you use nature, you use the wind, and all that. So I think that's why I always have a free spirit, and I thought that freedom was from the outside. It was adventure and things like that. So in my first part of my life, that's what I was seeking for.
So why did you sell it and move to the United States?
Yeah, what happened? So I used to live on my sailing boat, but I was an entrepreneur, right? So I used to rent boat in south of France, right? And I did that for almost 10 years, right? And so what happened? It's like I had a calling. I know it's hard to like an insight, the best way I describe. And coming out of the blue, and basically I saw myself helping people, right? And so I didn't know how, because nobody in my family were involved with healing or doctor, nurses, massage therapists, nobody. So what I did, I started to ask around, and some of my one of my clients actually told me one day we were like in a terrasse de café, like we say in France, drinking some cold beer, like with that hot summer that we have in south of France, and I started to talk to him and say, you know what, it's like there's a brick wall, and I cannot open any door to go to the outside, right? And so basically he said, Alan, there's a guy, a Chinese doctor that is coming to town, and maybe you should talk to him. I said, heck yes, I want to talk to him, right? And so basically we talk, and this guy was a Frenchman, and so his name is Philip. And he told me, you know what you need to do? I'm going to give you free books to read. And after, when you're done with the season, like in the end of September, mid-October, you're going to come to my office, I'll give you a treatment, and we'll talk. And sure enough, and those three books were really important to me because they broadened my horizon, right? They were about philosophy. So the first one was the Tao Taking, which is a Chinese, very deep, to say the least, a Chinese philosophy. And the other one was called the Hara, Hara, which in Japanese means belly. Like when they kill themselves, they do harakiri. So if one of the warrior is dishonor or whatever, dishonor his family, he will basically take a knife and put it on the just below the belly button and kill himself that way. And so it was a Japanese philosophy with a posture and things like that. And the other one, the last book he gave me to read was acupuncture philosophy, the man between the sky and the earth, right? So I read all those books, and went to see him, right? At the end of the season, I was very excited, actually, Melvin, right? And super pumped up. And basically, I asked him, of course, about Chinese medicine. And he looked at me and told me, you know what, Alain, if you really want to know what you're doing, you need to do like I did. And so I asked him, what did he do? He said, well, I went to China, spent 10 years in China. I mean, learned Chinese fluently, studied the old proverb. And after I came back, and I'm a Chinese doctor now. And I say, man, I mean, 10 years. I was 30 years old at that time, Melvin. And so I asked him about, I said, I want to practice one day. And so he smiled and looked at me, said, you know what, Alain, you look strong. And he said, why not chiropractic? And I said, what's that? And he gave me some information about some people French people who have been to the US to study chiropractic, and also the name of a school. And I went to, of course, to ask some information about the school. I remember my best friend did translate, she was an English teacher, and translate that for me. And I got very intrigued because they were talking about the innate intelligence, our own ability to heal ourselves. And to make a long story short, I ended up selling my boat business, and started to study chiropractic.
Okay. Do you consider yourself to be living the American dream now?
Well, if I understand truly what is the American dream, right, which is more like, finances and things like that, yes, it did happen, right? It did happen. But to me, America was more about changing my life, right? Become a better person, and through helping others, that has been the process of healing, using the healing to help others. Of course, I've been using that for myself, and I'm so glad I did, because it just opened my mind tremendously
So, what do
to
you miss
become
the
a better
most?
person.
Okay, sorry. What do you miss the most about living in France?
The food. And yeah, I mean, it's like a culture that is based on food. Everything like is surrounded by food. I don't know now, right? I've been in the US since 1993. And yeah, so there's always, the quality of food. We can talk about the food a lot, but when you eat, like you're on a table and everybody is eating together, and so you've got that socialization that is like that I like a lot. Typically in France, when you invite somebody on a Sunday lunch, they will stay until the Sunday dinner, and we'll eat the leftover, and we spend our time about cracking joke, or just talking about different things. And so that's what I like, but I love where I am, because I'm passionate about what I do.
That's great. That's great. So, you've had a lot of success, but you've also experienced some heartache by going through a divorce and a colon cancer diagnosis. Can you explain how you dealt with those situations?
Yeah, so you were talking about the American dream. And so I graduated from school, right, chiropractic school, and I started to treat people. And people will get better, but pretty soon they will reach a plateau. And so I didn't, and to maintain those health benefits, they will still have to come to see me. So I was puzzled, because I said, how come? Because in my book, I believe in the law of cause and effect. So for every cause, there's an effect, and every effect, there's a cause. By the way, for my 8 years old, I call that the cause and consequences. You see what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, to me, like, chiropractic was not really the causes of all our problems, obviously. And the way to do it, to fix it, because to me, if you've got any problem in life, it can be a health problem, it can be a relationship problem, it can be a prosperity problem, whatever it is. In order to resolve your problem totally, permanently, meanings, I don't even think about my problem, I moved on. I'm done. It's closed, case closed. You need to know two things. You need to know what's causing your problem, and you need to know how to fix it. And so that's very important. So that's why I thought chiropractic was not, maybe all the cause of a problem, identified all the cause of a problem. So I started to investigate, and after I started to investigate, and there were some people complaining about joint pain, and physical body work, we don't even touch it. And so I started to study that, and what we call the inflammation in the body, right? And so I was big on chemical stress, and I made a practice out of it. I was seeing, like, 150 patients a week. I mean, I had 4 employees that I taught how to do it. So I had the best house the beautiful house in the best neighborhood, and quite a bit of money in the bank and all that. The American dream, like you said. But the thing and the matter within, when life is telling you that, they expect more than for you. Not only because I thought I made it. I mean, I'm a French guy. They used to call me the gypsy back in south of France. It's a gypsy area. I don't know if you know the Gypsy King, It's the music come from there, from France, right? And so, yeah. So what happened within a year, like you said, I was so focused on working, work all the time. My mind was only about this that I neglected my family. I mean, that's the reality. And I had like a 6 years old daughter, and so what happened? Of course, my my marriage went down the drain. So I ended up divorcing within a year. And like you said, I ended up divorcing. And so because I became depressed because of that, because when you divorce and you've got a kid, it's never a handshake. I mean, there's so many problem that comes with that. And I was already burned out, to be honest with you. And I felt depressed. And my practice went from thriving to failing. Right? I was the only one in that big office, treating few people. And so, yeah, so I started to get broke, right? I have to some overhead and things like that. And the cherry on the cake was, the diagnosed with early stage of colon cancer, because you have to understand that I was telling people, like, you will come to see me as a patient. I was telling you what's causing your inflammation and how to fix it. Right? And so I shouldn't be having cancer according to my own criteria. And so I had to rethink about everything that defined me, about my job, because obviously I was doing my own program. It didn't work for me. I have to think about my relationship because of my divorce. I have to rethink also, and my daughter, the relationship with my daughter. And I have to rethink, my business, my prosperity and all that, and my health. So all the big things in life that I knew one thing, Melvin, for sure. I knew that there was something deep within me that was pushing me to sabotage my health, to sabotage my relationship, and to sabotage my prosperity. So I went on a quest to figure it out. It's like a simple man. We all have problems. I just wanted to find what's causing my problem and figure out how to fix it. It happened that I'm a doctor and I know a little bit, more things about that. But we all have problem and we all want to resolve our problem.
Right. So you discovered through this process of trial and error the goal and success clearing system and the 3-step process to breaking the cycle of limiting beliefs. So how did that, explain that to me and tell me how it changed your own life?
Well, like I said, in my practice, I was treating people physically for the physical stress. I even created my own energetical technique, and I became a cranial specialist. For the inflammation, I was doing this, and I discovered, like for cancer, if you supercharge your body with oxygen, I mean, cancer cell will die right away. It's kind of like a vampire looking at the sun, right? The same effect. They don't like it, right? And so what was less was the mind, right? So I say it has to come from my mind, right? And so I started to learn about the mind, what we call mind body, right? Not body mind, but mind body healing. And I learned a few different techniques, dealing with emotion, but I knew it was not all that, right? There was something more. I'm very intuitive. Right? I started to go deep in the mind, and what is I discovered, Melvin, like blow me away, literally blow me away. For example, we live in two separate worlds at the same time, Melvin. So what do I mean by that? We've got what we call the outer world. I mean, it's basically our self-identity, what we are aware of, our perception of reality through our senses, right? For our brain, basically. And also your thought, what you're aware of, your thought, your emotion, your behavior, and your action, right? Your personality, but basically your self-identity, who you think you are, what define you. Like, for example, I'm a doctor. I don't know what you like. Melvin is a podcaster, things like that. And after, there's a very mysterious mind, right? Very secretive, it's kind of hidden. And we call that the subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind record everything you have been doing in your life from age 0 to now. All your skill as a podcaster, as maybe a father, as whatever required skill in your life that you're doing are stored in your subconscious mind. All the automatic function in the body, like digestion, like breathing, and your heartbeat, comes from your subconscious mind. So I say, wow, that's very powerful. And there's two things that I want to share with you and your listener, because I think that's going to maybe you're going to question yourself who you really are, right? And so the first thing is this. First thing is like your conscious mind, who you think you are, what you're aware of, or what's going on, process data at 11 bits per second. Your subconscious mind, but it's totally hidden. You don't really know what the heck is going on there. Just process data at 11 million bits per second. Meaning now we are interacting. I'm aware of 11 bits per second of information, of data, but my subconscious mind collects 11 million times more of information that I'm not aware of. I say, wow, that's great. And after the second things that I want to share with your audience, Melvin, and yourself, it's like if you Google, right? It's different mind. So it's information that is available for everybody. You can Google me if you don't believe. But your conscious mind, who you think you are, it's only 5 or 10% of your mind, depends who you're reading. Therefore, your subconscious mind, that you have no clue what's going on, is 90 to 95% of your mind.
Wow.
And so, yes, so who's in charge there? I mean, who's controlling what? And so that's blew me away. And so I thought, why not, because here's the problem. When we want to heal, to transform ourselves and to grow, what are we focused on? We are focused on only on our conscious mind. It means we are using only 5 or 10% of our mind power. So I thought to myself, why not using the 90% also in our mind power, right, that we don't have access to? So why don't we bring the subconscious mind to the party? Actually, Carl Jung, which was a famous psychologist, he said that you need to bring the subconscious conscious, right? And so that's what the mind clearing is about.
Okay, so are we the one fully in control of our actions, reactions, and business decisions?
And that's actually a good question, because you start to sense now that our conscious mind, who we think we are, it's like little compared to that subconscious mind, right? So what you need to know also, it's like we are all have been programmed. You have been programmed. I have been programmed. Everybody listening to the program, if I can say that, has been programmed. So you mean we have been programmed? Yes. So let me give you some example how it works. So the first things, like from age 0 to 7 years old, we're like a sponge. So what we see in the outer world, we assume is the truth. So you assume one time, two times, and it become a program, and that program, which is very important, is not in your conscious mind, is in your subconscious mind. So you're not really aware of those programs. And so you've got two kind of program. And I have to say, it's not only the main programming is from 0 to 7, but you are constantly programmed by social, your culture. You have been programmed also by the bad news, and all that, all the fear that can that can program your mind negatively too. So you've got basically two kind of a program. You've got a program that are serving you, right? That it's kind of like you've got the best day, Melvin. You just do all the things, everything is flowing, flawlessly, and you have been super productive, and you think that the world, is like, it's kind of like your mind is working for you instead of working against you, right? And so they call that empowering belief or positive programming. Somebody that's serving something, a program that's serving you. And after, of course, you've got the program that are not serving you any longer. It's kind of like you've got a day that it's not even non-productive. It can be even counterproductive. And you say, oh man, I wish I would stay in bed today, because what I'm doing is like not even working, but it's just hurting me. And it's kind of like when your mind is working against you instead of working with you. It's kind of we self-sabotage ourselves, why I'm still in that relationship, why am I attracting the same kind of woman, why all my friends are successful in business and I'm not, right? All the things that we don't want in life are coming from what we call limiting belief, which is also negative programming, right? That is those are resistance toward our success and towards our getting what we want, right? And so basically, we want those programs, like I said, are coming from the past. So they can be from 0 to 7 years old, right? But they can be also from PTSD. All those military people who come with big emotional trauma, right? From what they see, they come back home and they are a mess, right? And they are basically told, "Oh, you've got PTSD," and sometimes they're ending up divorced, like those Vietnam vet, that they were like even homeless, right? And all that because of all the all the trauma that they saw, and maybe they took some life and they regret it or whatever it is, right? So at all time we can be programmed. So this program can come from repetitive action, right? But also they can come from a big trauma that we experience in our life. Do you want me to give an example of whose trauma define our life, or how
Absolutely.
whose
Yes,
pattern
please. Yes, please do.
yeah, I think that will help. Thank you. I appreciate Melvin. I think that will help the audience to understand better what I'm saying. So, hi, Melvin. Let's pretend there's a little girl that see her dad that is alcoholic and coming back home every night, and he's so drunk that he beat up his wife all the time. So, what do you think that little girl, when she's in the age to get a romantic relationship, what kind of romantic relationship she's gonna attract?
Probably somebody like her dad.
Yeah, so like an abusive relationship, right? So there's two things that I want. Probably 80% of the people listening to us will agree with that. But let me point out two things. First comment I want to make. If I ask, that woman now, and I say, "Oh, by the way, do you enjoy to get beat up like your mom?" She's going to say no. So the conscious mind is going to say no. But the subconscious mind has been programmed as men are predators and women are prey, right? So now, my second comment that I want to make is how she's going to attract that guy, right? She's going to say, "Hey, you, can you come and beat me up?" Of course, it's not going to work that way, right? And so basically, it's kind of a subconscious mind connected to each other. That's why people, they say humanity is one thing, right? It doesn't mean that we have to love each other, everybody, and all that. But we are connected, and the way it's going to work is like this. So let's pretend I'm the subconscious mind of that woman now. That's good. Oh, look at this guy. He has been bullied, and now he's a bully. He's got the predator program. Look how attractive it is. And so that matches your program. After consciously, she's going to be attracted to him, right? Fall in love with him. And his subconscious mind is going to whisper to his conscious mind and say, "Look, she's got the prey program. She wants to be bullied. And I've got it's the perfect pairing." So, like you say, they're going to attract each other. It takes two to tango, like you say in America. And so they're going to be attracted. And so there's three different case scenarios that can happen, Melvin. The first one is basically she get married to that guy and get stuck in that abusive relationship for the rest of her life, right? And we all know somebody like that or have heard of somebody like that. And we say, why she's still with that guy? He beat her up, she called the police and don't press charges. Why? It's because of whose program, subconscious programming. Case scenario number two. She may get with this man, right? And after a while, she said, "No, that's too much. It's too much beating." And after attract another man and maybe still abusive, but not as bad or whatever. And there's two case scenario that happen. So if I ask that woman about men and she said, "Dr. Salas, don't talk to me about men. I'm done with men. They are not good for me." So she's getting a kind of sense of awareness that it's no good for me. It's kind of like there's a fire, Melvin. I put my finger on the fire once, and it burned. Twice it burned. Three times I say, "Okay, the fire burns. I'm done with it." Right? Kind of same things like that, but it's not true healing. So because we can learn from our life experiences, and so what happened, if you heal truly from that, she will attract somebody totally the opposite of what she has been attracted. Somebody that support her, somebody that see her as an equal, somebody that's very kind to her. And that's how you know that you have been healed. And so that's basically how powerful this program. So you ask, who's in control? It's our subconscious mind. right? It's kind of our past define our present and mold our future. That's what I gave as an example. And case scenario number 3, she can come to see me and we can deprogram all that. We can change all that programming in the subconscious. And so, of course, it saves lots of suffering. It saves lots of uncertainty. And after she can attract somebody that is totally different and good for her.
All right, this sounds related to something else I was thinking about. What kinds of things do we do that sabotage our success and promote our failures?
You want some example?
Yes.
Yeah, basically, when in relationship, it's like I mentioned before, like why I'm attracting or well, it's codependency basically, right? Codependency in relationship, right? So that woman, for example, she will attract somebody that is not good for her, right? Everybody's telling her, but still you cannot help it. It's like self-sabotage, right? With self-sabotage is what you know it's not good for you, but you're still doing it. You cannot help it. That's what self, and why you cannot help it, because it's coming from your subconscious mind for all that programming that you had. So it can be apply with business, like with a business. What I figure out, what I had, it's like I could be successful, but not for long. Boom. You see what I mean? You can be it. Just give you a test of it, but after, boom, something will come to turn in your life. So this show you how powerful we are, because we can create the good and the bad. If we've got like good programming, it's kind of like, in a way, if I compare, your mind to a computer, your brain will be the hard drive. And the software of the computer will be the subconscious mind. The output of your software will be your conscious mind. And your behavior will be reflected on the screen of life. And so if you don't like your screen of life, it's because of your software. That software's got a negative programming that show something you don't like on your screen of life. When you don't like when in your computer, you think that software doesn't work for you anymore, right? What are you going to do? Number one, you're going to delete it, right? You're going to put in the trash, and after you're going to go to the Play Store and you're going to download one that works better for you, right? So number one, you delete what you don't want. Number two, you download what you want instead. And number three, remember the screen of life, you want to make sure that you're going to have a result. You're going to create that in your life. It's not a fantasy only in your head, because that's how we learn. We learn by doing things, by acting. Lots of people, they are too much in their head. They stay in their head. It's like I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. So you get some information of being an entrepreneur, but you never act on it. You're never going to have the experience of being an entrepreneur. It's all a fantasy in your head, right? And people, sometimes they forgot that if you don't take action, you're not going to get not only the benefits, but you're not going to get also the experience of it, right? With you're not going to be able to learn from it, basically. And so, and the third stage is about create. So you delete, download, and create or manifest.
Okay, so are these themes contained within your book, Brain Power Secrets?
The Brain Power Secret was the first book I wrote maybe 10 years ago, and it was about studying the brain and how can we make our brain physical better, right? So I was still not too much involved with the mind, which has been my next step. So in order to summarize that book, it's like, well, to help, your brain, you need to work on the mind, you need to work on the inflammation, and especially your gut, because your gut is called the second brain, right? So in order to make your brain works better, you need to fix first your gut, which is your second brain. That's basically it. And of course, you can release also physically. So with the brain, I'm a cranial specialist, so I could release pressure caused by the bone-skull misalignment and the meninges, right? So we could release all that. So basically, the people, what they need to do to know, it's like instead of taking brain supplement, first focus on your gut and fix it.
How do you define the gut?
The gut is like what's in your belly. So it's basically, I call that, for me, it can go from the stomach to your anus to pooping, basically, right? And so, but basically, people, it's more like the small intestine and the large intestine. But for me, it's all the digestive system. Like below, like you've got your thoracic cage here, and you've got your pelvis, all the things that are there, that help for your digestion is the gut. So stomach, small intestine, and large intestine.
Okay, all right, that helps clarify that. So can you tell me what's wrong fundamentally with our current approach to goal setting? And we're talking more about the business sense here.
Yeah, so the program I created is called Mind Clearing. And in this program, I've got two sub-programs, if you want. One is called the body clearing. So it's more like to get rid of pain, because if you Google and you look at limiting belief, what you will see, it's like for the goal, like what is in, it's basically self-esteem problem that you've got. But what I discover, it's like, those negative programming can create pain, physical pain in your body, can create physical symptom in your body, or be a part of it, part of a clearing process, and also inflammation. So I knew I was really under something when I was able to clear pain. For example, if you got neck pain and we do mind clearing, 70 to 80% of my patients will be out of pain permanently within 2 treatments. So that's pretty good. That's because nobody in my field talk about, the limiting belief and getting rid of the pain. Nobody dare go that, right? And so that's why, when I started to be able to clear pain so well, I knew I was really under something. That was a good confirmation. And after I created the goal and success clearing, right? Because the goal of success clearing, the way it works is like this. It's okay, give me a goal that somebody wants to reach or you want to reach. Give me an example.
You want me to give an example? Let's say writing a book.
Writing a book. So A, you didn't start writing a book. B, you're done with writing a book, right? So between A and B, you may have some limiting belief that's going to prevent you to even start the book, or just, have some resistance while you were writing the book, and also even prevent you to create that book, right? So you will want to get rid of those that. First of all, so that's number one. Number two, we all have a preconceived idea how we're going to reach our goal, right? You say, well, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do that. Okay, what kind of book and all that. So we've got a certain amount of clarity, right? Of focus and certainty. And so when we start, right? And so when we bring the subconscious mind to the party, because we use only an analytical mind, right? Maybe some intuition, which is the wisdom of the subconscious mind. But there's something we use only 5 or 10% of mind power. So when we bring the subconscious mind, so we just start to clear like all those, things that can prevent you even to get started, right? And some resistance along the way. When we clear all that, we increase our level of clarity, focus, and certainty. We get more confidence. Oh yeah, I can do this and all that, right? And in the same time, when we do that, using the mind clearing of a goal and success clearing, when we do that, we're going to have access to a higher knowledge, because we've got more clarity. We can focus more and we've got more certainty. So we're going to be exposed to higher knowledge. Just to give you an example, when I created that technique, it took me like 3 years. And I remember at the beginning, I said, how am I going to explain that to people? I had no clue, Melvin, because I was here. And so I started to treat myself, with that technique that was okay. And after more and more the technique got better, I had better results. And after I will be able to resonate with the knowledge, all the knowledge that's going to allow me to talk to you about that, basically, right? So it's very true. Trust me, I experienced it myself. And so that's the beauty of things. It's when you're bringing the subconscious conscious, in the same time you're raising your level of awareness, of consciousness, if I may say that, with all the benefits that come with it. So you got more clarity, more focus, and more certainty. You got more confidence, and you believe it's going to happen. So now so when we do that, Melvin, to write your book, when we do that, I say, we're done with this. So I will say, what I want you to do, Melvin, is just to describe me a first step that you can check within a week. A little step that you're going to take, and within a week, we can check how that's been working for you. Can you give me an example, or you want me to go along?
Go on.
Yeah. And so basically an example would be to call 10 people who have been very successful with their books. So you start to call people, and so maybe 3 answer, 2 brush you off, and 1 spend a little bit of time. So there's things you didn't like. And so all what you didn't like during that process, it's called resistance. So we'll do mind clearing on that. You'll do mind clearing. You eliminate that. Like that, it's just, you can, by doing this, again, it's going to increase your clarity each step of the way. And after you become so clear that maybe you course correct what you wanted to do. Your preconceived idea change, and you say, oh, and because you will be also exposed to new knowledge. And so you say, oh, actually, this makes more sense to do in this way. And boom, you course correct. And so what this will guarantee, like number one, you will reach your goal. It's a question of time and steps, right? And clearing all the resistance, all the things that prevent you to by in your way to reach your goal. And at the same time, go so much faster. Because that's why you don't lose your motivation. Actually, you increase your motivation, you increase your confidence, you increase your clarity, you increase your certainty. So it's all benefit. In the same time that you reach your goal quicker and faster, you become a better person. So it's a no-brainer in my book. Right? Repeat the
So,
question.
yeah, if we start focusing only on developing skills, strategies, and good habits for success, is that enough?
It's not, because you see, developing skills. It's first of all it's in your subconscious mind. Remember, we talk about that. And so, if you want to improve the skills in your conscious mind, that's going to be okay. I mean, let's say if you want to sell something, and so they teach you, you got a script. Usually, that's what happens. You have to do that. That's pretty easy to learn. But that's not what's going to sell it. Your body language, your being, your deeper inner state. Actually, if you take a pyramid like this, at the bottom, the most important thing is your inner state, because the subconscious mind of the other person can feel it. Right? And after you've got the body language, you've got the voice tone, you've got the confidence that you express, right? They say from public speaking, what people gather mainly it's 10% of what you're saying, but mainly it's your mannerism, what you reflect. Are you confident or not? And things like that. Are you passionate about what you're doing, right? And that's what people will get that via subconscious mind. They're not even aware of. And after having the script is at the top of a pyramid is not the most important thing, right? Because if like my mind clearing, I know how it's helping people. I've got a ton of testimonial and all that. So of course I believe in it. But if you try to sell something and you don't believe in it, that's almost, I mean, my book is almost impossible. Or you have to be a certain kind of a person that is not very likable, I think.
So, how do you remain excited about going to work and cruising through challenges when you're facing obstacles and roadblocks?
Yeah, I just realized that I've been doing that for 29 years now. I didn't start young, but I will never stop. I will never retire, because each step of the way there was an evolution. Yeah, I never get bored. I never did the same thing. Always been creative. I never lost my juice, for things, because when you know what is your purpose in life, this is it. It has to be a real purpose, Melvin, like, because, sometimes I ask my patient or some people and they say, oh, yeah, I want to have $1 million. Okay. That's not your purpose. It cannot be your purpose. Why do you want to reach $1 million? Why that energy? Because money is energy. What that energy that you're going to have available for you, what you're going to do with it? Why you want this? And so that's what I call the real purpose. So mind clearing can help you to clear your mind, literally, to know also what your purpose. For me, I was a lucky one because I've been blessed. It has been given to me out of the blue when I was living on my boat in south of France when I had that calling. So helping people, it's never ending story. So I'm going to treat people, I'm going to teach people to empower themselves, because that's what we are talking about. For true healing in my book and transformation and growth come from within. So if you give somebody the technology to be able to use their 90% of their mind power, they're not using them, look how empowering it is. And after you finally realize that you are creator, you're not a victim of your life. You're not the victim of your circumstances, of, like you say, some setback and all that. If you understand, right, if you have a victim mentality, if you've got a setback, so I'm going to give up, oh, I cannot do that. Look, it takes too much of energy, and you're going to start to have doubts and all that. But in a creator perspective, you're going to understand, oh, this is like, this challenge, right, is there to make me grow, to help me to grow and see what I have to learn from that, right? And so when you start to learn from that, well, that's very empowering, right? You understand that you're not a victim. You understand that everything happened for a reason. Remember, I believe in the cause and effect. Right? And so everything happened for a reason. And so when you find the reason and learn from it, you're not going to attract the same experience. But with mind clearing, we can go so much faster. We can deprogram the old things, and there's no research to do. And it's very straightforward. It's not complicated. Because again, I think people make it with the mind, with they talk about the law of attraction or manifestation. They make it so complicated. Why? Because they're not talking the same language by the subconscious. You know, for the limiting belief, that first of all, they limit that at the self-esteem. They're not even talking about pain, but they say, oh, you need to have a journal, to write down a journal. You need to feel what's going on. You need to have lots of affirmation. I mean, basically, you need to have a iron will every day to do all that because they're not speaking the same language. It's like, if you've got problem with sound here and the sound cut off, I'm going to have to do sign language. I'm going to have to write down things, to explain it to you. I mean, that's exactly the way I feel now about my field. And so when you speak the same language and you can reprogram all that, it doesn't take a long time. Matter of fact, like if somebody's got whatever problem or challenge, I like to call challenge. Problem is negative. A challenge, it doesn't have to be negative. And so when there's a challenge, it's basically, let's say you got an emotion you want to get rid of, anxiety, if you're feeling anxious. So I will say, why don't you picture yourself having like big time anxiety? And so that's going to be that picture, that's going to be the representation with all the symbolism of your anxiety. And so I will tell you, so we will create a program, customize the program, and you're going to send it to you in that picture. And after that, step number one, step number two, I will ask you, hey, you know what? Why don't you like your ideal outcome? So maybe she or he wants peace or whatever it is. That's their picture. It's not for me to decide. That's their subconscious mind, right? Nobody can know their picture. Even only themselves can know. So they visualize that and we customize the program. I'm here to guide them, customize the program, and we will download that to that picture. And number three, the same thing with the creation. To me, the holy grail of healing, transformation, and growth is when you empower people to heal themselves, to transform themselves, and to grow.
So is that the kind of program you use when people are feeling stuck, sort of in their
Yes.
careers or when they feel burned out?
Yes. Exactly, because they're feeling stuck because there's a negative program, like you understand now, that is in the subconscious mind. And so I will ask them, okay, visualize the being stuck big time. And we delete that program. We download a new one that actually very successful. And number three, we want to make sure that, take the steps, and follow the goal and success clearing, like I explained you previously.
All right, just a couple questions left before we go today.
Sure, Melvin.
Where can listeners get your book or your books? Can you tell us about each book and how they can get those books?
Well, the book is not really why I am here for. It's just because what I do, not only I treat people, but I teach people how to use it for themselves. So if you are like an individual who want to empower yourself, to basically heal and transform and grow, right? You can learn it. It's not that complicated. It's like when you take the mouse, you delete, and after you go to the Play Store and all that, it's a little bit different, obviously. Right? But so if they go to my website, it's called themindclearing.com, and they go into contact, they will have a form that they can fill in on my email address. And if they mention your podcast, if they want to get a treatment, they will have 20% discount, right? So meaning that we can talk about that forever, Melvin. But until you experience it, you don't know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, true knowledge is about experiencing things. That's why when there's alcoholic people, they will take people who have been alcoholic previously to help them because they truly understand what they are going through, right? And if you want to learn it, if you want to learn the mind clearing, the goal and success clearing, and for the pain and symptom, the body clearing system, if you want to learn all that, I will give you a 50% discount. So it's an online program, and I'll teach people how to do that. Like that, they can help themselves, but also it's empowering you to help your loved ones, your kids, or anybody, right? So I think it's very important to be able to do that yourself. Of course, if you are very sick and all that, I will recommend to get treatment, right? Because it's too much, right? Your energy is too low and it's going to be too much for you to see that you need help. But if somebody is not like big time sick and all that, they can work themselves their trauma. at first get a treatment like that. You will understand, and you get 20% discount because of Melvin. So that's about it.
Okay, that sounds good. And I will include those links in the show notes for today's episode. So before we go, what one final bit of advice would you like to leave with the listeners?
Well, advice. So what I will say, if you think you have been, I want this to be like a hope, a message of hope. And so the first thing is like, well, if you think you have been everywhere and try everything with no success, it's because they didn't find out what's causing your problem, or they don't know how to fix it. That's that simple. And we established now that the mind is everything. So, try to get some treatment and you will know right away if this can help you. That's, I cannot tell you better. And also, I think that we have been told that we are the little me, right? We are only 10 or 15% our mind, and we are bone and flesh and all that. And what I want to say, if you zoom out and you get really the big picture of what I'm talking about, let's see, God is the sun. Awareness, whatever you want to call it, depends what you believe. So God is the sun, and the spark of God make your spirit. And after you've got the sky, and after you've got you and me, the physical you and me, right? So some people, the sky is so cloudy that they say there's no sun. The sun doesn't exist. And so what makes the cloud? Those are your limiting beliefs. So when you start to get rid of limiting beliefs, now you can get a glimpse at the sun. You can start to feel the warmth occasionally on the sun. And after you get rid more and more limiting belief, and you start to get more connected to your spirit, right? And after you realize that truly who you are, it's a spirit living a physical experience. So it means that you've got access to all those goodies via the subconscious mind, right? And so after you become more the creator that you were supposed to be and not the victim that I think that the society want to define you by.
All right, Dr. Salas, that's a good way to end this episode today. That's a lot of good information. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this episode a couple of times to digest all the information that you provided today. But it's been enlightening. I appreciate you being here today. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you, Melvin. I appreciate you a lot. Thank you, sir.
So our guest today has been Dr. Alain Salas. So please go to my website at podcastreallife.com for more information about my guest and the things we discussed today, including the links that he mentioned earlier. That's it for today's episode of Stories from Real Life. Join us again next time for another chance to learn from each other. Until then, don't forget to shine your light wherever you go.